courtroom today appealing this decision.
Peter, it's interesting. I guess they detained you there at the airport, went through your luggage, went through your phone, went through your laptop, looking for anything they felt they could use to justify keeping you from coming into the country when you were just coming into the country to talk about the sanctity of life, the sanctity of marriage, and sexual normalcy. And this now essentially has become an immigration crime in the country of Canada. Apparently, their policy, this is the official policy of the government because they're the ones that are holding you up there at the border. These are immigration officials. I think members of parliament are involved in this and all of that business. I mean, it seems like their official policy is if somebody wants to come to Canada and talk about sexual normalcy, talk about the sanctity of life, and talk about the sanctity of marriage, somehow they find that speech so offensive they can't even let somebody in the country to bring that message.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Brian, I was interrupted there, but I think I caught the gist of your what you said. And absolutely, I mean, this is the law as it is written defines hate propaganda, Provision 319 in the hate propaganda law, Brian, says public incitement of hatred. Everyone who, by communicating statements in public places, incites hatred against any identifiable group when such incitement is likely to lead to a breach of the peace. And so you can see how this would be abused and applied broadly. And this is the problem with homosexual activism, is that it starts whenever it grows, it comes at the expense of other people's rights. You know, what about the religious liberty and the rights of the people in Saskatchewan who invited me to speak, who wanted to be educated on the homosexual activist agenda and on the very organized attempt to grow gay rights at the expense of religious freedom. So, it was very strange. It was sort of Kafkaesque, having my stuff searched through like I was a common criminal, merely because I advocate for sexual morality, as has been known for decades and hundreds and thousands of years. The Judeo-Christian sexual ethic. I'm now a criminal, a potential criminal.
Well, and Peter, I'm looking at the name of this group. You mentioned at the beginning, Intolerance Free Weyburn. That's the group that's trying to keep you out of Canada because they want Canada to be intolerance-free. So they claim to be on this intolerance-free campaign, but they're showing absolutely no tolerance for you and your message whatsoever. They want you locked up. They want you detained. They want all of your luggage, your laptop, your phone to be gone through with a fine-tooth comb. They want you to be denied admission into Canada, all in the name of tolerance. I mean, this seems to me the absolute height of the expression of intolerance to you and to your message. And here's the other thing, Peter. You're referring to this section of Canada law that refers to the public incitement of hatred. Now, I know when you have spoken at events in the United States, for instance, you spoke at one event where you're the scheduled speaker, and somebody in the homosexual activist community threw a brick through the window of the building where you were to speak. In fact, they gave you the Pink Brick Award for somebody throwing this brick through the window of the building. So it looks to me like there's a possibility here, Peter, if the Canadian government does the right thing, they grant you your freedom of speech, they allow you to come to this event, deliver your message, the chances are good that there will be people from this intolerance-free Weyburn group in the name of tolerance that will show up, and there may be some incitement of hatred, but it seems to me, Peter, that the group that would be guilty of violating this section of Canadian code would be the people that claim they're all about tolerance. If there's going to be any kind of public incitement here, it's not going to be you. You're just there to deliver a message about sexual normalcy and the sanctity of life. If there's any kind of unrest here, disturbance, it would be incited by the very people that claim that they're the voices of tolerance. If anybody ought to be getting in legal trouble, seems to me, it ought to be this intolerance-free Weyburn group.
Yeah, absolutely. Isn't this just like the left, Brian? All the left, what they specialize in is shutting speech down. Me and you will debate people all the time, and you've been a victim of considerable hatred yourself. But you're absolutely right. When you tell somebody that their Judeo-Christian beliefs, their firmly held morality, and we don't hate anybody. We're Christians. We're not allowed to hate. We oppose behavior. We oppose the gay activist movement. We stand up for marriage. And to call that hate is, I think, an act of hate itself and disrespect. and yet they want to shut us down because they're afraid of ideas. They're afraid of a firm debate. And, GLAAD, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, and other homosexual activist groups, Brian, they do a version of the same thing, only it's not as crude. When they try to keep Brian Fisher off the air, or I watched that awful interview you did with Carol, I think with Carol Costello,
yeah.
that one where she was basically jumping down, she didn't give you she was being so mean to you and disrespectful. The GLAAD, what they're trying to do is shut down any opposing voices as if there's no legitimate opposition to the homosexual activist agenda, which of course is absurd. So this is the whole modus operandi of the left. They just want to shut down this side of the debate, and that's the way they want to win. And I think, thankfully, people are starting to see this, what we're calling homo-fascism. I sometimes call it homo-Marxism. This neo-totalitarianism, which can't even have a civic debate over a controversial issue. Tolerance used to mean me and you could disagree, but we would tolerate each other's opinion. Now, intolerance means there are certain viewpoints which apparently, as judged by the left, are simply intolerant and don't deserve to be heard in the public square.
In that conversation with Carol Costello on CNN, where she cut me off and she terminated that interview, she cut off the interview from her end when I began to talk about the health risks involved in homosexual behavior. The point that I was making was that homosexual behavior has the same health risks that injection drug abuse has, and we know that by going to the Centers for Disease Control and their research and their data. They're not a part of the vast right-wing conspiracy. So what I wanted to bring into the conversation with her is data that comes from a federal government agency. And that's where she cut my water, so they clearly do not even want to face the facts, the truth, the reality about the numerous health risks that are associated with homosexual behavior. And Peter, you're talking about the fact that we don't hate anybody. We love people enough to tell them the truth. We looked at the story in L.A. where there have been 3 or 4 homosexual men who have died from meningitis. And even the L.A. Times is talking about the fact this is enormous health risk, an enormous risk factor for men who were having sex with men in the L.A. area because of this meningitis outbreak, and a couple of them died at age of 27 and age 28. And, that breaks our heart. We don't want, here are young men, prime of life. Their lives have been tragically shortened. We hate it when that happens. We want these young men to live a full, prosperous, satisfying life, and we love them enough to warn them about the dangers of that lifestyle. But the gay Gestapo...
Brian, if I could bring up somebody... I know a woman named Carolyn Groff and her husband Lowell. Their son Russell Groff died at, I believe it was age 26, after getting involved in a homosexual relationship in college. And she found out at the very end. Can you imagine that your son is dying of AIDS? You have like a week or so, or just a little time to come and comfort him. The homosexual lifestyle, especially men who have sex with men, is high risk, and it's the elephant in the room that nobody in the media wants to give a fair discussion to. You're exactly right. If this were any other behavior, there would be a full-scale government corporate mobilization against the behavior. But here, the behavior is celebrated instead. And so all we're doing is we're raising these issues, and this group, took it upon itself to say they know what was best for all the citizens of this part of Canada. They decided for the other Canadians who was going to be heard and who wasn't, and that's the arrogance, the complete arrogance of the left, always deciding for everybody what views should be heard.
Peter, we got about 60 seconds left. One last comment. You were kind of joking this morning and some of the posts that you made that, maybe if Canada kicks you out of Canada, they won't let you in. Maybe the United States wouldn't let you back in. You'd be a man without a country. You'd have to follow Edward Snowden to Russia to seek asylum, and I might be right behind you.
Well, I know Barack Obama is pretty far left, but I hope he's not at the point of denying American citizens reentry. But I do think, America is going to head down this road if we continue down this, embracing this gay activist path. It starts out with tolerance, and then it ends up with hate speech codes. And, Brian, I know that there are probably thousands and thousands of leftists who would love to ban your voice from being heard, and mine as well. And so that's where this all goes. Just look at Canada. This is where America's headed if we don't turn this around.
My guest has been Peter LaBarbera with Americans for Truth. Speaking to him, he's being detained by Canadian immigration authorities. They're considering denying him entrance to Canada to deliver simply a message about the sanctity of marriage and the sanctity of life. Peter, we stand with you, shoulder to shoulder with you. We're praying with you, my friend, and please keep us posted as this situation develops. And thank you for taking time to be with us, and God bless you, my friend.
The Pocket Testament League presents Pocket Power. Read, carry, and share the gospel every day. If you've ever failed to share your faith because you just didn't know what words to use, then carry the word with you.
I'm a full-time student developing a program for the youth of our church. Many are poor or unchurched and don't have Bibles. We'd like to get them the Gospel of John.
This is Mike Brickley, president of the Pocket Testament League. League members have found that any place is a good place to share a pocket gospel with someone they meet. Join us and you'll always be ready. Is there anything more important?
I am helping women with addictions, and I plan to give the gospel to each woman I meet. Thank you so much for this ministry. I also ride a motorcycle and plan on giving them out at biker events.
What are you waiting for? Read, carry, and share the gospel every day. For more information, call 1-800-636-8785 or visit pocketpower.org. That's pocketpower.org.
Hi, this is Dan Celia from Financial Issues. You know, the charitable gift annuity concept is more important today than probably ever. It is something that you have heard me talk about for many, many years. And right now, for now, the tax code is still allowing charitable organizations to establish a charitable gift annuity so that you can be guaranteed permanent income for the rest of your life. Don't waste any time. So many of you have IRAs, 401k money. Peel off a piece of that. Establish your charitable gift annuity so that you have a portion of permanent income that you know is never going to change for the rest of your life. Would you do it today? Call AFA Foundation, 800-326-4543, extension 345. That's 800-326-4543, extension 345.
This is Focal Point with Brian Fisher on AFR Talk. Listen to the audio podcast or download today's program at afr.net. You can also read Brian Fisher's columns at onenewsnow.com. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email us anytime at focalpoint@afr.net. Focalpoint@afr.net.
Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. The program is Focal Point, the network AFR Talk. Great to have you on board.